Have you ever noticed a difference in performance when you're playing a practice match and an official match? A lot of players and teams are struggling with this, and perhaps you're struggling with this right now. When there's something at stake, stress and anxiety can skyrocket and can have detrimental effects for your performance. For example, you will lose coordination, you cannot have those headshots, you cannot hit the skill shots, you're missing the ball in Rocket League just by 1 millimeter, and that's a miss or a hit within the goal. You're not focused on the task at hand, but you're focused on the outcomes. What if we will win? What if we would lose? You know, negative things you cannot control inside the game, what the enemy did or your teammate did. You're not focused into the here and now and cannot perform the way you want to. In this video, we will cover 7 ways in order for you to perform in official matches. So be sure to grab a pen and a piece of paper and let's get into it. What is up, guys? My name is Donny from nextlevel.esports.com, the #1 platform for esports coaches and team development to help you and your team reach the next level by getting the people side of esports right. So in this video, we will cover how you can perform in official matches. And oftentimes it has to do with your mindset and preparation. So in this video, we will cover some things that you can do in order to practice in your training so you can transfer those skills into the match when it matters, but also some things when you notice that when you are in the official match that you can use in order to get you back on track in order to perform. So with no further ado, let's get into the video. Grab the pen and piece of paper and let's get into number 1. Number 1, routines. If you want to have better consistency within your official matches and you feel more at ease, routines are a good way to do so. So routines are there to get you consistently in a certain mental state, a more neutral state. So for example, even though you basically went to a birthday party with your family, if you're playing at home in the weekend, and at night and the evening you have to play a match, but because you went to the birthday party, you're already exhausted for a little bit of your own mental state. You're not maybe really there, and if you would jump in straight back, if you had some dinner and then straight into the game, you might feel a little bit off or maybe a little bit mentally exhausted. But if you take a step back and that you have your dinner and afterwards you always take a short walk of 10 or 15 minutes and do some warm-up practice in the practice tool in League of Legends, just like in the sandbox, for example, in Rocket League, or do some death matching in CSGO or Overwatch. It can be anything to get you to the right place to warm yourself up physically and mentally. So you get to the neutral state and you are ready to perform. So no matter what actually happened in the days before or the moment before you get into the routines, you start to go into your own performance bubble so you can have this neutral positive state where you can actually perform and for a moment forget about all the things going on inside your head or in your mind. Even though there's more to it, but this is basically the nutshell what it boils down to. So it's hard to control those daily events. So by building in this routine-like schedule, it really helps you to get consistent results and get you to the neutral state. So a good way to have, if you are at any level, doesn't mean a professional player has to do this. It really also depends on what you like, your intuitive reaction and how to prepare. But a good time window is 2 hours prior to the official match. So maybe you would like to play a warm-up game, or you want to do some meditation. Maybe you want to take 30 minutes outside just walking and clearing your head, or maybe you like to talk with your family or cuddle for a couple of minutes with your dog. All these routines build up in the right state of mind and physical being that you can be. So for the physical activity, how you can prepare on that is to do the death matches and all the things to get basically your fingers and your muscle memory warmed up so you feel confident that you can still hit those headshots, or you can still hit those skill shots within League of Legends and such thing. So prepare the mind of the players for the correct mental state and competition is to do like meditation or visualization, or just take time for yourself, or even go over the strategy that you and your team thought of in order to compete. So you get reminded what your task is, what is expected of you. Maybe you want to watch another VOD or something else that brings you in the right mental state that really makes you feel prepared and confident for the match at hand. So all these little things, everything accumulated, really benefits for you and your team to really up your level in the official matches. So that is number 1, routines. Number 2 is pressure management. What is exactly pressure? Pressure is not from the event itself, because the event, the thing that you are doing, is neutral. You set the pressure on yourself, not the event itself. It's your connection, because you may feel pressure, but your teammate doesn't feel it because maybe he's more experienced, or he has a great day, or you prepare physically and mentally and he's confident in his capabilities, but maybe you are not. So that doesn't mean the event of the official match puts pressure on you, but you put pressure on yourself. So when you start thinking of pressure, it's because you've started thinking of failure. And this is something to think about as well, because if you want to have a performance and you feel like, oh, I have so much pressure, why do you feel the pressure? It's always because you are scared to let maybe your teammates down, scared that other people will view you as lesser or maybe not as good as your teammates, or that you are afraid of losing the match or your reputation, or maybe the tournaments, or it can be anything. But most of the time it's about scared of not being able to get to a point in time where you feel confident that you can achieve it. So this can be the results as well, that you feel the pressure. Oh, I really don't want us to lose this game. But also the opposite is true as well. If you get pressure of, oh, we really must win this game, it's basically the same thing. You put the pressure on yourself, right? So you need pressure and stress within your official match to perform. But there is a line between you need pressure and there's too much or there's too little pressure. You want to find the sweet spot. And in this video, we are talking about the point that there is too much pressure or too little pressure. But oftentimes, like 9 out of 10 times, there's too much pressure from the players that they put on themselves. So you want to manage your pressure. And how can you do that? So for example, what I see a lot of teams and players do, even though they are caring and engaged in their practice, but they're not like fully 100% putting in their effort and their try-hard mentality, because they feel like, oh, it's just a practice. It doesn't really matter if there's winning or losing. There's not really something at stake. And by adopting this mentality, oh yeah, it's just a practice. We're just here to learn. Yes, that is true, but it's not the full story that you, in order for you to perform as well in your official matches as well. So basically the thing that you want to adopt is, I want to bring the same killer mentality and every will to succeed within the practice environment as well. So instead of seeing it just as practice, we're here to perform well. We want to perform and engage in the processes as good as we can. So you put up the pressure in your practice and you get used to that. And because you get used to this level, the pressure is not only too much of a difference in your official matches, but it's a lot closer. So the bridge, when you feel more pressure, when there's something at stake, it's closer than before. And in that same regard, you can lower the pressure from your official match as well, because you can more handle it like a practice. Like, okay, we're here to improve, focus on the process, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna just assume more that it is a practice than an official match, then there is something at stake. Even though there's still pressure, but it can also lower down as well. And even though there's a difference, you feel bigger similarities in the way you are performing and the way you're practicing and the way you're handling official matches. And that really is a big deal in your mindset and physical state as well, because if you are stressed on a high enough level, you also start to shake, you lose coordination, and you don't want that, not for yourself and not for your teammates. So you want to put the pressure right then and there where you can handle it properly, but you still have enough pressure to exceed your own expectations and the team as well, to push you forward and really give that 110% and that extra nudge to succeed. So in order to also, what I also said about when you want to focus on being able to perform in your official matches, you never focus on the result. Like, yeah, we really are focusing on the win. What does that actually mean, focus on the win? You're sitting there in your chair and you're thinking, wishful thinking, like, oh yeah, if I think about the win, it will come eventually. What you actually mean and what you want to adopt in that mindset, we cannot control the outcome of this practice or this match, so we just accept what is happening and I don't pay attention towards the result, because that's just a waste of energy, time, and effort. What I'm gonna put my time, energy, and effort in is the process, because the process, if you focus on the process, that will dictate what the result will be, whether that's a win or a lose. And if you really put your effort and everything in that process to be the best you can be, mentally and physically and mechanically, even though when you lose, it doesn't feel as bad as you think, like I could have gave it more, or I had this mental block, or blah, 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 whatever. So even though those are serious things and I say like, oh, blah, 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 but it really puts you in that mental resilience that nothing can stand away with you engaging in the process, because you get your task at hand, focus on what you're doing, engage with your teammates or your own process and your own task, what you need to do in order to fulfill the best process that you are capable of. And that will dictate if you go to a win or lose. So short recap, pressure management of the practice, put more pressure on yourself mentally. Sometimes it can help with challenges as well, or consequences, just like to put a little bit more pressure on it. And within your official matches, you try to lower the pressure as well, so it comes more close towards each other, so you feel more confident and more into the zone, that you feel that it's an official match, but it's not too much of a difference, so nothing crazy will happen. So just like the first one, when we were talking about routines, you're looking for consistency, getting everything close, because if you're having this, one day it can be, oh, I'm not in the zone, I'm like too low of a pressure, but then you get to the official match and that's too much and a big of a jump. So the results can lay between anywhere here, and you don't want to be playing official games like that if you want to be successful and be consistent in your results. So that's number 2, pressure management. Number 3, 100% in effort. So you might think, I'm practicing with my team and yeah, I'm giving my 100% effort, and my teammates, I expect them to give 100% effort as well. But really be honest with yourself. I see so many teams and individual players saying that they give the 100% effort, but when you look at the individual practice or the team practice, the way they behave, it's much different again than the way they want to play or they actually need to play to win those official matches or to have the best chance. So really dig down deep in your own consciousness if you're really putting in a 100% effort, because a lot of times I see players and teams putting only maybe 70 or 80%. They're not holding other players accountable if they're making mistakes. They're letting it slip and see through the fingers if someone makes a mistake or is not calling in the right way, or is a little bit slacking, or was a bit too slow on things. And yeah, you might feel like, oh yeah, this is just a practice, we're here, and yeah, it can happen. But the way you practice is also the way you play the official game. So think about that. Are you really putting in 100% effort? I probably think, and maybe that's a big assumption, and maybe you're an exception, but 9 out of 10 players are not really putting in that 100% effort to really get there, to really put in the work that is needed, to really put in the focus in order to get to the next level. So maybe you're putting in 90% and that's close. And sometimes you can because you're maybe mentally fatigued or you're physically tired. And those can be reasons. But no matter what, if you come up at practice, you give your 100% effort, not less, because you want to suffocate excuses. I see so many teams and players, or those are oftentimes individual players that say, yeah, I wasn't feeling it today. So yeah, I think if I really tried hard, we probably could have won this practice or this official match. And that is like, what do you even do with such answer? It's not even like confronting the reality, because it happened as it happened. And oftentimes these players that are making these kind of excuses, they weren't feeling well or something happened or it was only unlucky, those are just like excuses to avoid reality, that they didn't play well enough. And you as a coach or as a teammate, and if you're really serious about focusing and performing well in official matches, you should also hold those players accountable. Like, Harry, I don't want to work with you if you keep making up excuses that you're not feeling well. This has just happened. And of course, that has its toll. But don't tell me that all the time, every time we have this practice and we're losing, there is one of all these reasons that we are not able to perform and therefore we could have won. Because what does it bring us? What does it learn from us? That we have potential, but we're not showing it. So get real with me, because it could happen as well in official matches, and I want you to perform then and push yourself as well towards the 110%. So it's very good to have this conversation with your players if you're a player, or with the players if you are a coach. And as well, as you can see here on the screen, a lot of people or players would say, yeah, I was just experimenting for a bit, and they didn't communicate it prior towards the practice. So it's just more so like, okay, you experimented, but you didn't keep in touch with us. So you cannot experiment in official matches as well. We have practice, and if you say that we are able to experiment from time to time, it is doable. But having it as an excuse like, oh, we lost because I was experimenting or I was limit testing, that's a no-go. Maybe 1 or 2 times you can let it go. But if like one and every other game, one player or one specific player is saying, yeah, I was limit testing, I was just experiencing some stuff, you'll easily get people tilted. Because they want to win. They want to see if we as a team are up to that level to be able to win, instead of, oh, we just lost because Harry was experimenting again. So really deep down, look if you're putting in the 100% effort, so you're not feeding other one's egos or your own. So also be aware of that escape if you hear some excuse or something else, and tell the people if you notice something, what you're seeing. So maybe it can be a one-off, and that is fine. I always say like, okay, 1 is a coincidence, 2, it's a bit sketchy, but okay, it can happen. But the third time, especially the third time, now we're talking about a pattern. So decide who you are as a person. If you like to give critics or hold people really up to the standard and hold accountable, then say it immediately. But oftentimes it is better also for the team cohesion environment, because you don't want to point out every little mistake all the time. In certain situations, depends also on the context. But I would highly recommend to always speak to any player about something that you see that's really not acceptable, and hold people accountable when they show something at least the second time, and especially the third time. So be aware of this escape, because only 100% of your and the team's effort is gonna be the long-term success. You want to achieve certain goals in your career within esports, and you want to do stuff, and you want to get to better teams and make a living or higher salary, or you want to be transferred to this other team that has more potential, or just like a better environment. You gotta work for it. So it doesn't come for free, it doesn't come easy. So hold yourself accountable that you always put your 100% effort in, as well as you and your fellow teammates as well. So what it all boils down to is really 100% care for practice. Not only practice because, yeah, it's practice, we can make mistakes and blah, 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 all sunshine and rainbows. No, really go there with the fighter's mentality, and go in there and really hold yourself to a high standard and hold your teammates to a high standard in order to reach the next level. You might get into conflict from time to time, but conflict, if you handle it well and you have a good, proper and educated coach on these topics, or you are an experienced player as well, 9 out of 10 times those conflicts are more fruitful than destructive. So be sure to say what you think and hold people accountable and give the 100%. Number 4, willing to face and accept defeat. So a lot of players focus on the win. And while that is a somewhat healthy mindset, because everyone who is involved in competitive spirits and sports and esports, we all want to win. But focusing on the win, as I said as well before at number 2 with pressure management, it's not something to focus on. Like, what does it mean focusing on the win or not to lose? It's not a process, nothing you can control. It's just an outcome of the process. So you cannot focus on the outcome, and you have to accept that you can win and also accept that you can lose, because it doesn't really matter. You really only want to focus on the process. And when you're focusing on the process and you put all your effort in there, you're really improving, because if you're improving the process, eventually you will get things right, you will learn things, and eventually after that you will start to gain more wins, more successes as a player and as a team as well. So really focus on the process. So people want to learn how to win, then practice how to win. And to practice on the win is to focus on the process. So this is a short one, but a very important one. Number 4, willing to face defeat in practice. Number 5, control your thoughts. So we often think that we are in control of what we are thinking and our emotions, but you probably learned by now, if you've been in a competitive environment or you had some troubles in life as well, doesn't really have to correlate with esports, but you have sometimes negative thoughts or negative feelings. Well, feelings derive from the thoughts that we have associated with the event that is happening. So we need to have helpful emotions and helpful thoughts as well to get in order to win more official matches. But how do we get there? When we have negative thoughts, you need to be aware of them. Because when you are aware of them, if you're thinking about the outcome of a game, winning, losing, or we must win, we must lose, or what will the fans think of me, or what if I don't perform well, what if they look negatively upon me, like all these things will have a detrimental effect, and it brings you out of the focus zone and not at the task at hand, but towards the future and all these other things that are not beneficial for your performance. So don't waste your time on the outcome of a match or anything else. Be aware of your thoughts, and if that's happening and it's related to the outcome, change them. So for example, if you're thinking about, oh, we hope the round ending, for example, in Counter-Strike, it really doesn't matter if you win or lose, because it doesn't matter, because you need to focus on the process. So instead of like, oh, I'm thinking of the outcome, we want to win the match, what do I need to do to win the match? I'm focusing on the process. What is the task at hand? Okay, I need to run the perfect default, I have to hit my utility, I'm gonna hit my utility, and I'm gonna click on the head of the opponent. So this is also like how you change and catch your own thoughts. So it's more like, I explain it less, within your head you have like your thoughts come up from you unconsciously, but you need to have like a border guard, for example, that checks in if this is positive or negative thought that needs to come through, and with the good and helpful emotions and thoughts as well that provide value for you, or send them back and let them be changed into something more positive before it comes up and you act upon it, right? So refocus on the things you can control. You cannot focus on the outcome, because you can only focus on the process. So train the controlling of your thoughts in practice. How you can do that? If you're really having difficult, if you look back at your last practice or your last game that you played and you find it hard to catch yourself having thoughts, or you have something abstract going on but not like the specific words, open a notepad on your computer or grab a pen and a piece of paper and write down inside that moment, or just right after the moment when you died, or when you spawned at the fountain, or you had explosion, or whatever. Write down what your thought was, so you get more conscious about what you are thinking, and afterwards you can see patterns and you can start to think like, okay, if I'm thinking this, what will be a helpful and positive thought that I can change in order to have a helpful thought? so I can have helpful emotions, helpful feelings, so I can have helpful consequences and helpful impact for me and my team as well. So that is one thing in order to do as well. If you're more aware of your own thoughts, you can instantly think of, okay, what are the thoughts that I'm regularly having? How can I change them? You can write it down so you can also won't forget it and you can practice with them. But this is not something that you practice in official matches. This is something you need to practice on a daily basis because you want this to be a second nature basically. Because you don't want to think actively all the time if you should change your thoughts. You want to have your unconscious mind help you in the first place. So you want to practice this over and over, weeks in, week out, so you get more comfortable with your own positive thoughts until some point in time, maybe in 1 week for you or maybe in 2 months. It really depends on the person and the context within where you are active. So it can be 1 week or 2 months, for example, but keep practicing until you cannot get it wrong, that you are instantly able to reframe your negative thought into something positive. So even though 1 year later, even though it's second nature, when you catch yourself on a negative thought, you can instantly change it to something positive. So that is number 5, control your thoughts. Number 6 on the list to help you perform good in official matches is to accept whatever happens, because you are just one person in a team game probably, or one person versus someone else, but you can only control yourself. Not the opponent, not the environment, not the RNG factors with items, minions, the AI, the positioning, if you have an Inferno Soul or a Mountain Soul or whatever the reason may be. It is a very powerful thing to let things happen and accept for what it is, so you don't get frustrated in your day-to-day life and your day-to-day routine when you're playing the game over and over again, because you'll get demotivated, you'll be even getting toxic. It can also be a consequence of it because you cannot deal with not controllable environmental things. So this is a big thing if you want to perform consistently in official matches. So else you get too emotional, what is here in the sheet as well, because if you get tilted, for example, by something that you cannot control, maybe someone has a lucky shot and no scope 360 your head off and you're like, what is this guy doing? You cannot control it. So instead of focusing your energy on this not beneficial behavior, you can channel it into something more positive as well. But also the opposite is true. If you're channeling more things in something that is going really well, and you have to look forward for that as well. So if everything is going as you want to, that is something you sometimes cannot control as well, and you can view it as luck. But sometimes luck or the moment or the AI or the computer is on your side as well. And even though you might feel like, yeah, I'm confident, if you're really accepting things for what it is, it gets more easy. So for you as a player, if you want to cancel out the noise in the negative thoughts and you want to be consistent and neutral as well, you can also cancel out all the positive thoughts as well. Not from yourself, but from the outside, people that are cheering for you, because you don't really care, for example, what other people are saying, if it's positive or negative, because you are focused on yourself, you and the process, you and the task at hand. So you move forward the way you want to move forward and what you think is the best for you. So it's really a waste of energy to complain and on things you cannot control. So really already be aware of when you are spending energy and effort and wasting time on things you cannot control, because it can be so toxic for, if you are doing this, for your teammates to always hearing your rant about all these trivial and non-controllable things, that it can be pretty irritating, and you can never really focus on the real things, the reality, what is happening in front of you. So acceptance is the key of playing in the zone, because if you're not accepting anything and you always constantly engage with a thought, positive or negative, you're not in the flow state, or it's very hard to get to the flow state. And if something is happening to you that you really don't like and you want to train with this, then I wrote down the relapse. So what does it mean? Relapse stands for, is relax. So if something happens that is out of your control and you don't really like it, often negatively, obviously, then just relax. Take a deep breath and just let it go. That is what the L stands for. Let it go. Then the A stands for available. Be available for what is next. Maybe the next round. Maybe when you resurrect again, what your next play is going to be, what your next plan is going to be, how you will be communicating with your team, and be available for just your task at hand. So if you're feeling lost, if you get thrown off guard by something mentally or something that is out of your control, relax, let it go, and be available for your own task at hand. So take up a task or a role or a responsibility within your playstyle if you're an individual player, or in as a role within your team. So you be available for what is happening, and when you are available and just doing the thing and you're focused on your task, that is the best way to go to the P, and that stands for perform. So you are available to perform again. And this might sound like, oh, this is a whole process and it can maybe take 30 seconds and I don't have time for that when I respawn or when I'm dead or when the round is already starting in 10 seconds. Maybe in the beginning, just like everything else, it takes a little bit time, but believe me, if you practice this relapse process, it can be like literally 2 or 3 seconds. It's just like, it happened, okay, let it go, I'm available. What is my task? Okay, I need to go left. Okay, this is my default position. Okay, I'm running back to the bottom lane. I need to set vision, etc., etc. And you be available to perform once again. So that it is number 6. Accept whatever happens. Number 7 is focus on your effort and strategy. So don't fight fear in a match, but fight them outside the official match, because I see a lot of players struggle with this and they keep their fears inside their head and they cannot park it for after the game. Obviously, if you're very inexperienced, this happens to you, but you want to basically, and a good exercise for this is to mentally put your fears and everything that you have on your mind right now in a mental box on your desk and put it aside, or maybe shoot it into space, but it will come back to you. You can find it in that box, but you set it aside for now, and then later on it comes back to you where you can handle it and engage with the conflict or the fear inside your own mind. So you can handle it for yourself, or maybe you have your coach to talk to, maybe some players, or maybe even a mental or performance coach that can help you. So in order to focus on that effort and strategy, put your attention towards your task. What can I do next? What is the process? What is my task? So for example, if you died in CSGO or in League of Legends or in Dota, instead of just ranting like, oh, I'm so bad, I should have done this or should have done that, be constructive. Focus on your effort. What do you want to achieve? What am I gonna do if I'm respawning, or maybe I have 10 seconds to communicate with my teammates? What are the proper things that I can help my teammate as well in those 10 seconds before I respawn? Should I communicate what I want to do, what I want to achieve, or maybe there's a team fight and I can maybe coach them through it, what they want to see because I'm already dead, for example. So instead of focusing on the fears, focus on your effort. What do you want to achieve, and the strategy? What is needed in order to provide the most value and the best outcome for you and your team to have? So that is number 7, focus on effort and strategy. That is it, guys. 7 ways to perform better in official matches. So which one of these 7 approaches do you like the most, and which are you gonna practice? I'm very curious what you thought was useful for you personally, because this is very independent based as well. One person likes maybe 0.2 and the other person likes 6 and 7, or everything combined in a different way. And I'm also curious, how do you intuitively cope with negative behavior, or how did you manage it? Because sometimes you just outgrow sometimes your fear because you got confronted with it so many times that you unconsciously adapt it for yourself as well, and that you're now a veteran player with 5, 6, 7 years experience, and you've been through all the peaks and downs as well through your career. So please also, if there are more things that worked for you intuitively, also share them and comment down below, because I'm very curious what is helping for you and what is behind that, because these are 7 points that I think that are very powerful, but obviously there are more things that can help you to improve your mental and physical state in order to have the best performance in official matches. So if you like this video, please consider a like, because it really helps the algorithm reaching more esports related people like you, like team managers, coaches, analysts that are curious about developing their team and themselves as well. So also hit the subscribe button if you like this type of content, and also hit the notification bell if you want to be one of the first people to get notified when a new video pops up, in order for you to reach the next level. So once again, thank you very much, guys. If you want to look for different ways to up your game and reach the next level, there's some extra video probably right here in the screen that you can click that is recommended for you in order to reach the next level. So enjoy your time with the next video, and thank you once again for watching. See you guys next time. Bye bye.